So I've come over today because I figured there was a bit of an anomaly in this bed, and also the allotment is looking a little bit, well, a mess. I sent those drone shots up last week, and as much as everyone said the plots look lovely, I could see this jungle of nasturtiums that were taking over the asparagus bed. I could see all the weeds that need to be done on the plot. I mean, that's normal gardening. Once it rains and you get some sun, all the weeds come up, but it's quite a lot. And the anomaly in this bed is that the elephant garlic starts off about 3 foot, 2 foot, about 1 foot over here. And there seems to be like this slope, and I cannot work out why, because I've mulched this bed all in the same way, but it doesn't make sense. And over in this end, the elephant garlic is true to form. They're huge bulbs. Now these are more towards the leek family rather than the garlic, but they take the name elephant garlic because, I mean, they're huge, aren't they? But we also have in the middle of the bed these. Now these are called monobulbs. This means that the clove didn't split in winter. Now I planted these out October the 31st, and I mean, if you can see, this one is split because you've got the individual cloves. This one hasn't. And then further down the bed, we've got medium-sized ones, and then we've got smaller ones. So the further down this bed you go, the smaller they are. Now I don't know whether or not it's because the sun comes over there and then it starts getting a bit more shade in the afternoons here. That could be a factor, but who knows? Now all is not lost, because if you have got elephant garlic and it does this monobulb, you can either cook it like this as one huge clove, or you can plant this again in autumn and then get a bigger bulb the following year, which is probably what I'm going to do with some of them. Now also, around these big elephant garlic, they leave these are called bulblets. Now you can plant these, and again, these will give you a crop in 2 years. For the first year, this will grow into a monobulb, like so. And then the year after, you've got this, a fully developed elephant garlic. But if you haven't got the room, you can just cook with these now and use them as flavouring. I mean, you can even dehydrate these and turn them into garlic salt. But the bulbils, if you leave them in the ground, they will grow into small garlic plants. And again, you could use them as well, I suppose, as like a green garlic. But I'm going to make sure I take these off. And they tend to just hang around the outside of the bulbs, so you can keep these for planting or cooking. Now I've decided I am going to take the garlic up regardless of monobulbs, perfect bulbs, and everything in between. I figured I'm going to cut my losses here and take them up. Now normally I take these up in July, start of July. I'm only 2 weeks from that, so make sure you use like a fork. You don't want to damage the bulb, and try and lift them rather than pulling them. There you go. Perfect. Now that one's not so bad. You can see that it's got the individual cloves, but some of these are not quite what I planned. Now in between all of these, I've got the Zebrune shallots that I grew from seed, and see what happens if you don't oh, I've speared this one. That one's definitely for cooking. So yeah, in between, like I said, is the Zebrune shallots from seed. Now I'm going to leave them in. I really need this bed for something else, but the Zebrune shallots, I really want to grow them this year. I've been trying for many years. So let's see if we can get a decent one. Now this looks very good because it's got a nice big stalk. Oh my God, look at that. It's an absolute monster. Perfect. But as I mentioned over here, they're okay, but they're just not splitting. So overall, not too bad. Not too bad indeed, but there's always a couple of rents of the litter. So I think the strawberries have now had it. I mean, I've had so many pickings from these. Now, I'm probably going to take these out of the tunnel now, cut back all the dead foliage, leave them to do their own thing. I mean, they could probably do with a good feed, and I might get another crop at them, but the polytunnel is getting too warm for them now, I think. So I'm going to cut off all the foliage, make sure that if there's any runners on these, I think I've already done these ones, but there's plenty around here that have got nice big runners on now, and I'm going to cut them off as well to allow these plants to get bigger rather than trying to produce smaller baby plants, which is an option, but these are only 1 year old, so I want them to focus on growth on these plants rather than producing babies. So I think I'm gonna give them a good trim, take them outside, make sure they continue getting water now through summer, and then I'll leave them outside for autumn, maybe bring them back in for winter, but they'll do okay. They'll do okay. All the foliage will die off, and then in spring I'll either pot them on and put them into bigger pots, or leave them in here and give them a good feed, and hopefully we'll get a nice flush of strawberries off them next year. But I cannot complain because I have had so many strawberries off these, and to the point where I'm sick and tired of strawberries now. So one of my varieties of leeks are in. These are called the Northern Lights. Now I managed to get exactly 24. I made 24 holes and then thought I must have enough, but I didn't. I had exactly the amount. Now these are going to be absolutely beautiful in this bed. They're like a metallic blue and purple, and these will be harvested later on in winter. But all I did on the video, as you just seen, was I made some holes, and then you just drop the seedling in. If there's too much root, you can cut a little bit off, drop them into the hole, and then water these with a watering can. And if you can see now, these are anchored in. So what happens is when you pour the water in, some of the soil from around the hole will drop in and cover those roots, and then these holes then will help that leek to fill back out later on, and these will bulk up then. And then in September, maybe August, we'll see how we get on. Allium leaf miner comes around for a second run, and these will have to be netted over then for a few months. But Yes, some of the leeks are in. I've got another 4 varieties to do. So I've weeded the onion bed, and I tell you what, this bed is only 3 foot wide and 14 foot long. And this took me a whole hour to weed. I mean, it's a tedious job. It's very boring in this heat, but there's plenty more weeds to do. But I'm happy that we've got this main bed done. And the bed that I had the elephant garlic in, that's all up now, has been weeded. All I've got left in here now is the Zebrune shallots that I actually grew from seed, and they're looking fantastic. There's quite a few in here. I'm hoping to get a good crop. I've never ever been successful with Zebrune shallots from seed, but I'm happy with the progress with these. And in the polytunnel, it's all looking okay. I've still got the leeks here, which I need to make a bed now and get those leeks out and then give the remainder to other plot holders. But we've had a bit of a disaster, which I'm not really happy about. I don't know whether or not, because I've got these hanging baskets up here, which I'm going to be taking outside in a second. I think what's happened is the water has dripped through these baskets and dropped down into the tomato bed, and it's rotted one of my Heinz 1350 tomatoes. I mean, it's sod's law because I really wanted 3 of those. I'm now down to 1 plant because the one, honestly, it looked like blight. It had all this black powder on it. The stem had snapped. I was really worried. I thought, you know, blight in June. But I think it's died a death. I've taken off the top off. I've planted that, hoping maybe that'll root. I'm not worried because, like I said, the other Heinz 1350, once it starts now giving out some suckers, I'll take some of those side shoots off, plant them up, and hopefully we'll get a later crop. But yeah, we lost one of the Heinz 1350. We've lost one of the troops. And we've got some good news. The Sergeant Pepper, we've got our first tomato. Now there's plenty of flowers, but it's nice to see a tomato growing in the new tunnel. And I've just spotted some on the blueberry dessert as well. So yes, things are going in the right direction. And everything's looking okay in this bed. I mean, the melons are looking okay. The bush beans, I mean, look, we've got some French beans coming, so they'll be harvested now in a week. I'm sure a couple of days, but maybe a week. I mean, we've got quite a few. I mean, I could harvest some of these, to be fair. So yeah, they're coming along here great. And then once they are finished, I'll take them out. These lettuces, remember the lettuces I bought from the supermarket? I've been pulling off the leaves from the outside, and I mean, it's still coming. There's no sign of it bolting. The same as the one at the back here, and this one. I mean, look at them. These were from the supermarket that had the roots on, and they have been feeding me all through spring. And we've got our first sunflower. Now this is a ruby eclipse. I'm absolutely thrilled to see the first sunflower. There's quite a few heads coming on this one. And again on this side, this is the ruby eclipse as well. I know because I put all the labels on the side of the canes this year. And I mean, this one won't be long before this one will be blooming. And also the Velvet Queen. Now this one as well is starting to bud up. So fingers crossed we have some beautiful sunflowers at the plot this year. It is just too hot today, but I want to try and get all those nasturtiums out on the fig and olive plot and kind of weed the one cabbage bed, because I have actually had some slug damage. And I noticed Lee, my neighbouring plot holder, he's had the same problem next to his as well. So maybe we've got a bit of a slug problem at the back end of the plot, or there's a family that have moved in, who knows. But let's get rid of all those nasturtiums. I don't mind a few, but they have completely taken over the asparagus bed and they're just suffocating all the plants. So let's get them out. So I've got most of them out now, and I mean, the asparagus bed looks like a war zone. But at least now these can gain as much nutrient and sunlight that they need to grow stronger plants beneath the soil, ready for next year. But most of them out now, and I can actually see there's some broad beans over there that are almost ready to pick. But what a jungle here of nasturtiums to go on the compost heap. I've also removed most of the outer leaves now of the cabbages. They did get a bit of nibbling, I gotta be honest, on this bed alone. The other ones, not even a hole in any of them, but this bed. But yeah, we do seem to have a bit of a slug problem on here. But I've taken them off most of them now. These are strolched, and hopefully these will be okay. But as you can see on the pixie cabbages, they're not quite pixie. They're doing okay. I mean, there's no damage at all to these really. A couple of minor little holes, and the savoys as well, they're doing great. So, and also the caraflax F1 down here, which I've been harvesting, no holes on them either. So it's just our back bed. But at the moment it is absolutely baking hot. It is 48 degrees in the polytunnel, but it's not even summer yet. So it's a new day and it's around about 7:30 AM and I thought I'd come over early. It's just been unbearably hot. I mean, do I want to be over here at 7:30 in the morning? Absolutely not. But I thought if I get my jobs done now, and then I can then hide away out of the heat later on in the day. So I want to start weeding that one bed near the polytunnel and get up another bean structure, take out the overwintering onions. They've had their time now. You know, whether they're small or big, they're coming out of the bed. Now these overwintering onions were put in way back last year and some are okay. Now if you have got onions in and you've noticed you start seeing the foliage go dying back, you crook the neck while it's in the soil like so, leave it a couple of days and then harvest. Now I mean, they're not so bad, I can use them. They haven't gone to seed. I mean, some are okay. Some are not so okay, but I want to weed out the rest of this bed here now, and I want to put a nice bean structure here with the remaining beans that I sowed last month. I mean, they're desperate to go out, so yeah, let's clear this out. And I mean, it's not advised to put beans in after onions. They're not the best plant to put in afterwards, but I'm going to put a nice bit of manure compost in, dig that in, and then hopefully they'll do okay here. There we are, give it some nice farmyard manure. I mean, this will really boost these plants through summer. So let's get this in. and it'll also mulch this bed, hopefully keeping the baking sun off the soil. There we go. Let's get the beans. Now these are way overdue to be planted out, but they were sown for this purpose, to have a later crop after these, and that's the plan. I've done it before in the past and it's worked, so they should be okay. Now the task of trying to entwine them. There you go. I mean, they're quite tall plants, so they've got a good root system, and I'm hoping the slugs now will leave them alone. So don't just add the manure to the top. When you're planting them, dig the hole a bit wider so the soil's quite loose, and mix in some of that manure to give it a good feed straight away. There we go. And then give it a little helping hand. Perfect. I think I might put 2 to each cane, and see how we get on. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to snap the leading vine. They will have side shoots afterwards, but it's not ideal. God, it's warm already. I cannot believe how warm it is, and it's around about 8 AM. So yeah, these next couple of days are going to be scorchers for the garden, so make sure your plants are well watered and kept hydrated, and yourself. They should start climbing up in the next couple of days, so keep an eye on them and hope for the best. There we go, all in. Give it a good watering now for the next couple of days, just to make sure it beds in, and especially with all this heat. And then they love water, so just keep giving them good water, good feed, a nice nitrogen feed like seaweed, chicken manure pellets as well, they're good. And then you should get loads of beans. Now I have got 1 cane that's not doing too well on the main beans, so I'm going to pop these in there just to give it a fighting chance. And the Greenstalk now has been replenished. I've taken out the remaining lettuce. It was just getting too hot in here. They started to bolt. We've got 1 or 2 at the back now, which I'm going to harvest today. We've got French beans here. These are all nice and tender now, so they'll be definitely picked all today. So I'm happy about those. And then ensure that I'm going to put these beef bush black resilient beans that Ali from the Rusty Garden sent me. And I'm figuring if I put 2 in each of these pockets, maybe we'll get another flush of beans. Now you're probably thinking this guy is gone bean mad, but I do like my French beans and runner beans all through summer, autumn, winter, spring, so I'm hoping to stock up on those. So yeah, I mean, inside here as well, I've also got some bush tomato plants that are coming as well. This is a house one. I've also got tumbling tom. So yes, and strawberries at the bottom, which I'm still harvesting. So the Greenstalk has been fantastic for growing things in, but it does get too hot in this area of the Polytunnel. This is right at the forefront. And I mean, should I have got it on wheels? Possibly that might be something I might have to do later on, and then maybe patio this area at the front here so that I can wheel it across to the other side of the Polytunnel, because this is where the sun is baking on this Polytunnel all day, and then the sun comes across here. So the lettuces were great in spring, but now we're coming into summer. I mean, they don't do well in this Polytunnel anyway, but maybe they were the varieties as well. But yes, the beans though, I will say, next year I'll definitely be using this more for the bush beans, because look at them. There's plenty on here. But I'll pop a link to the Greenstalk if you are looking at buying one. I mean, they're quite a nifty thing for like a patio or a terrace area. But yeah, I'm happy with it so far. But the lettuces, yeah, they did bolt a bit quicker than I wanted to. I've also gone through the polytunnel and taken off all the suckers. Now these are a nightmare, but if they grow in between the arm of the stem and the main leaf, then pop them all out. You know, you want them to focus on that one main growing stem. So yeah, make sure now you're checking your tomatoes and getting rid of those suckers, because they will take energy from tomato growth and also that main stem that you want to grow all the way up to the top of these strings. So yeah, keep on top of the tomato maintenance at this time of year. I've also added in a mashed potato squash from Martin at the Hanley Plotter, and this becomes more of a bush, so it's not going to take up too much room in this bed. And I've also added in a butternut squash and also an uchiki kuri as well. And the plan is that the butternut squash will take over this area here, which is an extra path that I don't really need in summer. And the uchiki kuri will take up some of this bed and maybe this path. But it's nice to see that I've got some squashes finally in. It's nice to see another bed planted up for summer. Now, I absolutely love hunter butternut squash, and I also like the uchiki kuri. The potato squash is new on me, but I'm willing to try new squashes. So if you've got a squash variety that you think I should try for next year that might compete with my hunter butternut squash or the uchiki kuri, let me know. Pop a comment down, because yeah, I'm looking for some new varieties for next year. I mean, they're flowering well, but this plant here isn't doing as well as I want it to do, so I may as well put this one in as well. And it started to rain, which is weird. What's going on? Ah, it's raining. What? It's boiling hot and it's now raining. I'm Danny and this is Grow Up.